Welcome to another episode of the Laser Bros podcast. I am Logan Lazarchik with my co-host Luke Lazarchik. I know it's been quite a few months since we've made a recording. Kind of both really busy schedules. I know Luke's had a hectic schedule at school and just covering, basketball, football, all of the above for K-State. But we wanted to record an episode today just because, the Chiefs just won Super Bowl. We're huge Chiefs fans. And Luke, how are you doing today?
Yeah, doing pretty good, Still got that Super Bowl high going off of that, so I'm doing pretty well. Can't complain after winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Sunday night I could not fall asleep. I probably didn't fall asleep till like 3:15. I just had so much energy after that Super Bowl, and it's just great that the Chiefs were able to find a way to win that game.
I actually had some pretty good sleep. I fell asleep pretty good around midnight. It was some of the best sleep I've had in a while. Waking up just a good feeling. Waking up just past few weeks, past week or two, just been like just thinking about the Super Bowl now. Waking up, Super Bowl champions.
Yep. So today, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about basically what happened in the Super Bowl, our reactions, takeaways, and then we'll look into the 2023 offseason for both the Chiefs and Eagles. Luke, how about you get us kicked off by telling us what you thought of the game and kind of about what were some of the takeaways you had from it?
I mean, we were watching together. It was a heart wrencher the entire way. Obviously, there's some bias as a Chiefs fan, but just early on, the Eagles were playing some great football. That was maybe, I don't know if you think the same or if you remember anything else, but maybe the best game I've seen from Jalen Hurts. I mean, he was fantastic. That was my early on. That was my takeaway. How well he was playing. And for him to play that well and to the Chiefs to struggle in the first half and then to come out after Rihanna performance at halftime, always enjoy Rihanna, you know how it is. But to come out after that and just Chiefs were just guns a-blazing, couldn't be stopped. And that was really the story of the game in the second half. Just the Chiefs offense kept moving. Obviously the punt return. And it was just everything was clicking for the Chiefs' way. The one blown coverage helped to get tied up for the Eagles. Obviously, people are talking about the holding call, but the Chiefs still took the ball all the way down there, and it was a stressful performance, but really a fantastic Super Bowl. And it's just really cool to be a Chiefs fan and to be a part of that, and to watch Mahomes and Kelsey. Andy Reid coached his best game in a while. His red zone's always been struggling. That was great, and so that was all just fantastic and ended a great. I know people aren't happy with holding call, but 38-35, great game.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the best all-around Super Bowls we've had in maybe a couple of years, few years. I think last year's Super Bowl wasn't that good of a football game, just schematic-wise, and I thought both teams were kind of sloppy, and I don't think it was that great of a game. I thought it was choppy, the Rams and Bengals game. But this year, I thought both teams played excellent. What really surprised me about the first half wasn't the fact that, that the Eagles could move the ball on the Chiefs, but the fact that they didn't even try to run the ball. I feel like
they didn't need to.
I did a bet where I had a parlay and I had Miles Sanders under 61.5 rushing yards. And I thought they would try to run the ball, or I thought that, they're a team that doesn't. I think people think that they're a running football team, but I think they actually want to throw the ball. And you kind of saw that in the Super Bowl. They run the ball when they're up big. But, I had some skepticism on Jalen Hurts going to the game. And, he proved me wrong. Some of the throws he made, those are throws that when you look at this game, it was kind of like the opposite. Mahomes had some easy throws he made. Well, Jalen Hurts, there was time and time again where he had to make a difficult throw on third down in tight coverage. I was really impressed by Jalen Hurts. And, the Chiefs had, I think, 9 minutes of time possession in the first half, and they just weren't able to get their offense on the field, and much in part because of the defensive touchdown by Nick Bolton. But, I thought the Eagles played a fantastic game. And when Mahomes went down with that ankle injury right before halftime, some doubt crept to my mind. I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to – I thought it may have re-aggravated to the point where it was worse than the Jaguars game, because it seemed like he was in even more pain than the Jacksonville game. But, the Chiefs offense, they found a way. And too, was not a huge fan of how that game ended, but as a Chiefs fan, I'll take the holding
Yeah.
call. I mean, I'll take it.
Bradbury
But
called it a holding. He called it a
yeah, yeah.
holding.
And if you look at pictures of it, I mean, you could clearly see that he pulled Juju's jersey. But yeah, I thought it was a great Super Bowl, and I think it's just so impressive what the Chiefs did this year. Just with the fact that they trade Tyreek Hill and they were really dealing with a lot of young weapons.
I thought, yeah, that it's just fantastic what the Chiefs did. But I thought that game, there's just so many things. If you looked at it and you told me all these things happened, Mahomes under 200 yards. I know I respected Jalen Hurts as a passer, but I didn't think he was great. Jalen Hurts just throwing dime after dime.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs running the ball well. The Chiefs having a good offensive red zone calls. Just the game went exactly opposite, but that just shows you how good both teams are when neither really their great play didn't really come from their strengths really, and they still played great. It was crazy to see. Obviously, the Chiefs running the ball like this. I know we both thought that they should run the ball more. I mean, this is against a stacked line. I've been wondering if the field conditions could have played into the defensive fronts because you saw a lot of slipping. But then, I mean, Pacheco, great game, and then AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, they have a conversation to be the best wide receiver duo in the league. I'd have to look at it, but they have a great conversation for it. And I think it just shows you how good these two teams were and that these two teams were the best teams in their conferences.
Yeah, I mean, like what you said, if you told me Mahomes threw under 200 yards and then Jalen Hurts had over 300 yards and 4 total touchdowns, I wouldn't be too confident she's winning.
No, I think it'd be over.
Yeah, and especially because if you look at the game, I mean, the Eagles, especially in the first half, I mean, their Chiefs cannot stop them at all. Both sides, especially on defense or defensive side, of course. But I was really impressed that the Chiefs' offensive line allowed 0 sacks. This actually felt like a complete team victory. The first Super Bowl was kind of Mahomes putting the whole team on his back and kind of scoring those 21 points in the fourth quarter to put us over the edge. But this game felt more like the defense. The Chiefs' defense didn't play fantastic, but situationally and in big spots, they made the stop when they needed to make it, which is something that the defense. There's a lot of rookies on his defense, and we'll get into this later. But I mean, the fact that you were starting. I mean, how many rookies were on the defense starting? 4 at least.
Around that, yeah.
Yeah, 3 in the secondary. I think the Chiefs are set up to not just because they have Mahomes, but because this is actually a very well built all around roster to make a few more Super Bowl runs at least.
No, yeah, we'll get into that. But something I just wanted to say, you're talking about how Mahomes, like in the second half of the previous Super Bowl, sort of put the Chiefs on his back a little bit. I don't think as much as you're saying because the last drive started Damian Williams. But Mahomes played fantastic in this game. Even though he didn't have the stats, he played fantastic in my opinion. He made some great throws, escaping the pocket. And I thought he played a great game, but he was still just outplayed by Jalen Hurts. Like, obviously, my first takeaway is Chiefs just won the flipping Super Bowl. But once I sort of milled out my fandom, it's like Jalen Hurts I always believed in Jalen Hurts because of his mentality and the whole Alabama, Oklahoma thing. Like, that takes a lot of guts. But, man, he's a dog. He is a dog.
Yeah, to be honest, because he hadn't played a single good playoff game yet in his career. And I know it was only 3 playoff career games, but I would not expect him after like those 3 subpar games to play his best and probably his best career game as a pro in the Super Bowl. Yeah. So, I was very surprised by it. I was kind of just surprised as a whole that the Chiefs defense was able to stop their run game when they decided to run, design run. Not with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts had his rushing yards, but the fact that the Chiefs were able to stop Miles Sanders and the Chiefs, I think, did the Chiefs outgain Eagles on the ground or was it?
They definitely did. I mean, I don't, because Mahomes had 40 something, Pacheco had 70 something, Kenyon had like 30. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's just, it's just crazy that the Chiefs were able, because when they were down by 10 and Mahomes got injured, going to the halftime concert, I couldn't really entirely enjoy the concert just because in the back of my mind, I was thinking about the whole Mahomes injury and just how that would play out. But yeah, the fact that the Chiefs were just able to, score 24 second half points, hold the Eagles to 11 second half points after that first half. It was great to see. And the Eagles have kind of been that team all season where they've played really well in the first half, and the second half they kind of fall off a bit, kind of take their foot off the
Mhm.
gas. And I don't want to say they took their foot off the gas. I just think the Chiefs made adjustments during an extra, halftime in the Super Bowl is probably 20,
30
30
minutes.
minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes. So you have extra time to prepare or
Mhm.
to adjust. So I thought the Chiefs did a great job at halftime of adjusting, and I think that's where they won this ball game.
Oh yeah, I mean the Eagles are. I know they have vets like Kelsey and Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. They're generally not as experienced as the Chiefs, even though
Mhm.
Chiefs have plenty of rookies making plays. But the coaching staff, obviously, Andy Reid has way more experience than Sirianni. And if you told me each team gained 1 year of experience and played a rematch, same players, everything, I mean, at that point, I may give the Eagles are the more talented team. I think
Oh,
in
for
the
sure.
end,
Yeah.
they just don't have as much experience, and that's what I think was the deciding factor.
Yeah, when you looked at both teams, Eagles, they clearly had, I think, the better all around roster. You could say every position group outside of quarterback,
Hmm.
the Eagles had edge in. But the common denominator, Patrick Mahomes, you're always going to be in ball games when you have Patrick Mahomes. So as
Yeah,
long as the Chiefs have him, and I know people were saying that Andy Reid may retire and all that. I think that was all. I think that's
yeah,
just
that was weird. That was weird.
it. Just came out of nowhere. There was no like actual like factual like, oh, he's been talking about it or anything like that. It's just one guy said, if the Chiefs do win, could he retire? And that kind of blew up the whole conversation.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but that's done with now. So it was a few hours spurt of thought, thinking about Bieniemy or Kafka, but that's now done with for the time being.
Is there anything you want to talk about in the aspect of the game, or should we move on to our next topic?
I think we can move on. I think we covered game. Most people have pretty good knowledge of the game, so we can move on.
Okay, so with that being said, we are now going to look at both these teams' off seasons, and we will start with the Chiefs. So the Chiefs, when we look at the Chiefs off season, they have 11 draft picks in the upcoming draft. They currently have 7 million in cap space,
Hmm.
and they could have potential to move some of that cap and create more cap space.
Hmm. Yeah, they have Chiefs have unique off season. Not many huge free agents. Orlando Brown probably get the franchise, as I think has been reported.
Mhm.
Juju, I saw that we're looking to re-sign him, or I'm saying we, but I think the Chiefs offseason is all about maybe not making a big finding a receiver, but really just continuing the development of this team and furthering
Mhm.
the culture and just sort of keeping it status quo, add a piece here or there. But I don't think there's too much eventful stuff. Just adding pieces is really where I see the Chiefs thriving this offseason.
Yeah, like you said, I think we or the Chiefs they tag Orlando Brown. I'm not sure what they do with Juju, and I think MVS is also another quiet topic that or a quietly underrated topic that we could talk about. The Chiefs did sign to a 3-year, $31 million deal, but do you see the Chiefs sticking with him, or do you kind of see the Chiefs moving on and maybe gain another receiver in the building via draft or free agency?
I think MVS stays because if you were to tell Chiefs fans you win the Super Bowl with MVS and he has a playoff game where without him you have no shot in the AFC Championship game. Yeah, he's staying. I don't think they signed this contract just to cut him after 1 year. I think he didn't do a ton, but that one game he did enough. He'll have more chemistry, more time in the system. Probably not going to have some huge jump in involvement next year. It'll
Mhm.
probably just be the simple games where he does absolutely nothing and then he blows up one game. So I think he's staying. I don't think the Chiefs are going to look to get rid of too many people. I know Frank Clark is an interesting discussion because you could save a lot of money by cutting him. You could save like 21
It's
mil.
21 million. Yep, he's a
Yep.
$28 million cap hit
Yep.
next season.
So I could see if I think he stays, but probably on another restructure because I just think looking at it, it's tough to pay him 28. But I don't know. Frank Clark makes no sense to me. He has the third most playoff sacks in NFL history. I know Chris Jones does a lot of work to help there, but nevertheless, still third most sacks. He truly boggles my mind in every single way. But so that'll be an interesting one. I'm expecting a restructure, obviously. There's nothing reported about that yet, so we'll see on Frank Clark, but everyone else, I don't think I see any other cuts. I know Bucker struggled, but you're probably not cutting Bucker,
Yeah.
and I think it's going to be a status quo offseason.
Yeah, I think the Frank Clark situation goes either two ways. The Chiefs go to him and ask him to restructure his contract, and if he doesn't, I think the Chiefs cut him. Right now, the Chiefs have $7 million cap space. They probably need some flexibility to just add some pieces in free agency. But with the 11 picks in the draft, I'm expecting the Chiefs to actually be very aggressive in the first round. And I know this may be an unpopular opinion, but I think they move up in the first round and they grab a receiver if there's one that's slipping. I don't expect the Chiefs to trade up, to pick like 12 or anything, but if there's a receiver there, one of the top 3 receivers sitting there at pick 20, I expect the Chiefs to move up and grab, a Quentin Johnston or a JSN.
Yeah, that's a very interesting proposition because they do have 11 picks, and you just had this great rookie class. Brett Veach is aggressive. The funny thing would be if they traded back and it's draft night in Kansas City,
You can say, yeah,
and then it's like 31st pick. Oh, the Chiefs traded it. Never
Yep.
mind. Is it officially called the 31st pick or 32nd pick because of the Dolphins?
I'm saying I'm gonna say 31st. I mean,
Okay.
there's not 32 picks in the draft.
Yeah, so
or in the first round. So
I don't, because sometimes you see on different mock draft sites there. I assume it's 31st, but I could see a trade up for receiver. That really depends on how the board goes, because I think it's really those top 3 guys, and then like Zay Flowers, Josh Downs, sort of. Jalen Hyatt will probably be the 4th guy, honestly, because I mean, you score 5 touchdowns, and I could see Jalen Hyatt being the pick. He wouldn't be my preferred pick, but I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I would prefer a bigger receiver, just more of a down-to-down receiver like Njigba or Addison. Quentin Johnston, he doesn't produce enough for me, even though he has such a huge athletic profile, so athletic and so tall. But I can see Hyatt, he's the speedster role. So if Chiefs trade up for a receiver, I would be completely fine with it. If they trade up for maybe a edge rusher they like to. They have the picks to move around, so they have some flexibility in the draft. And maybe you can see what they do with there. If Wiley leaves, it looks like Brown is saying you could draft tackle. I don't know if we have there's not like they're definitely doing this in the draft. I don't know how you feel about that. Do you have like a top position? I know you talked about receiver, but is there like a top position you think they should get?
To be honest, I don't think Chiefs have like a glaring hole on the roster. Now, if they get rid of Frank Clark, you probably need to get a pass rusher in there.
Yeah.
But just like we didn't talk about it, but like Washington Super Bowl, it was kind of problematic that at halftime we had one receiver, and Kelsey's he's the top receiver, but one actual wide receiver had a catch, and it was Juju for one catch for 5 yards.
Yeah, it was like just a straightaway slant.
Yeah, and I don't know if going to the offseason, and I think you have to get a receiver in this draft. And the Chiefs, I mean, we've seen the past. When they had Tyreek Hill, there were talks of them being aggressive and trading up in the draft for a receiver.
For Waddle, Or was it Ruggs?
It was Ruggs. It was Ruggs. But like you had to trade inside top like 12 to get Ruggs at that time. I think the Chiefs. That's why I think the Chiefs trade up. And I think, you brought up Jalen Hyatt. I didn't really think of that name. I thought more like second round, maybe early second round. But I mean, the Chiefs may take him at 31 because the Chiefs value speed.
When you score 5 touchdowns against Alabama, man, I mean, I remember watching that game. I think we're watching that together. And we're just like, who the heck is this guy? He's just burning Alabama. So, and he's a speedster. I know the Chiefs love their speedsters. Still, if Juju can maybe more define his role as possession guy, maybe Hyatt could work out. But there needs to be more consistency outside. We don't know what's happening with Tony. He doesn't really. That's a weird one. I don't know on Tony. That's
a weird thing. That's why this whole thing is interesting, because you have Sky Moore, who's on a rookie deal. You still have 3 years left on his deal.
Yeah.
You have Kadarius Toney. You still have 3 years on his rookie deal. You have MBS. But you don't have that solidified number one guy. And maybe Sky Moore can develop into that. I don't think so. I think Sky Moore could be I think he'd be a very, very solid slot player, but I never see him being that, that prototypical go-to receiver. And maybe the Chiefs, now that Mahomes has shown that he doesn't need a go-to receiver, they don't value that as much. But I still think if you give Mahomes a go-to receiver that he can trust down by down, I think that's huge. But, pass protection, you kind of saw how important that was in the Super Bowl. I mean, allowing 0 sacks was kind of the reason why the Chiefs won that game, because Mahomes only threw the ball 27 times.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have protection or good protection, I don't know if the Chiefs even are able to sustain some of those drives. So I see the Chiefs drafting a right tackle, maybe drafting a left tackle later in the draft.
Maybe.
So when Orlando Brown walks after next season, which I think will happen, I think we'll tag him. He'll leave after next season. Get a draft left tackle, third, fourth round, develop him, let him learn for a year, let him sit for a year and learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably the route the Chiefs go. But yeah, defensive edge is also another position where I think it's very interesting. I think just this Chiefs draft, I think it's in past drafts, it's been, the Chiefs definitely need this position. The Chiefs definitely need a pass rusher. They definitely need offensive line help because their offensive line is depleted. But I think the Chiefs could very well, go into the draft just thinking, let's get best player available. And if there's a player on our board that is slipping for whatever reason, and we have him like as our fourth or fifth best player in that position, or first or second best player in that position, I say we go and trade up, which I think the Chiefs end up doing.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. I know I saw some stuff about Chiefs drafting a corner early. It's like, no, we don't need a corner.
I mean, the Chiefs drafted, how many corners did we draft last year?
3. I mean, we had 3.
And then we drafted Brian Cook as a safety.
Secondary can be touched on maybe later. I don't think secondary should be touched on early.
I don't even know if we need to touch our secondary, to be quite honest. Because
I think it's always good to add depth. I mean,
it's always good to add depth, but the Chiefs added a lot of cornerback depth. And I mean, I think our defense, and this is gonna be another opinion that may, seem biased or seem out there, but I think the Chiefs could have a top 10 to 12 defense next year.
I think that's fully possible.
With these rookies coming in, now they know what to expect in training camp.
Mm-hmm.
They know what NFL offenses look like. They know how to prepare. I think this defense, I think it's already, I think, a very underrated unit. But I think going to next year, I think you're going to see a defense that is very good. And we didn't even talk about Nick Bolton, the Super Bowl takeaway.
Stud.
I mean, that guy, the speed with Willie Gay and Nick Bolton, that's really what elevated this defense. Yeah, Chanel. Yeah,
he looked pretty good.
Yeah, and Nick Bolton had like 9 tackles. He had the touchdown recovery. I know we disagree on the catch fumble. I know you thought that was you think that you agree with the refs that was incomplete.
I mean, I'm very 50-50 on it. If you had to tell me without a call what I thought, I'd say incomplete. But if you look at it, they call complete, I would probably lean to not change it. But it's nothing I was upset about. If you watch it once, you're like, okay, I think it's incomplete. It's so close.
This is a side conversation off topic, but
yeah,
when you look at the NFL catch rule, are catches now being judged based on where you're on the field? Because now catches, you can make a toe tap catch on a sideline, not make a move, not make a football move 2 steps after. But when you're in the middle of the field, you have to make 2 steps for it to count as a move. Is that kind of like, I mean, it's confusing because when you see Miles Sanders catch the ball, I mean, if you wait another second, he's taking a step. It wasn't like he was juggling the ball. I feel like he had clear possession of the ball.
That's very tough. I think the catch rules have always been tough, and people are always hating on how it gets ruled. In my opinion, if you go out of bounds, that's like the end of it, but you got your 2 feet in. I agree that football move should be made. My thing is just, did he make it when he caught it and was turning his body? I don't think he fully made it. It's not too much of concern to me.
Is there anything else in the Chiefs, off-season plans that you want to highlight?
Well, I know that there's always a talk about, the next tight end. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, this tight end class, I don't know how much you pay attention to it, but it's being really talked up by experts.
There's a lot of depth in it, right?
Dalton Kincaid. Then there's honestly, if you told me second round, Darnell Washington from Georgia, 6'8", huge. He's a great run blocker, great potential. I'd love someone else to help continue the run game. So that's just a small little opinion of mine. I wouldn't mind Darnell Washington second round, third round. I don't know where.
So if they go that route though, I don't think they go 2 offensive weapons in back-to-back round in the first.
I think rounds. They could. I think Veach is very creative with what he does. He went heavy defense. I could see him doing it because he just wants to. I don't think he's doing this prototypical 1 offense, 1 defense. I think he does what he wants, and he does what he feels is right. So I could see that happening.
Another position group that I find interesting for the Chiefs is the running back position. Jerick McKinnon will be a free agent. Maybe the Chiefs bring him on a 1-year deal. But I believe he's 31 or he's 30 to 31 years old. So he's very old for a running back. Do you see the Chiefs, drafting a pass catching back, possibly Deuce Vaughn?
I wouldn't mind Deuce Vaughn. I wouldn't mind
later
Deuce
round,
Vaughn.
like, third, fourth, fifth round, grabbing a running back that, has pass catching ability. But the thing with Deuce Vaughn, I still don't know if he has that pass pro. I'm not sure he's a good pass protector.
He is a good pass protector. I don't think you need to question it. I've watched enough games. K-State here. Deuce Vaughn's feel for the game, I think, is next level. This is so random about Deuce Vaughn because I think in general it's a stacked running back class. Want to draft one dude. I'm to help with Pacheco because I don't know if Pacheco's like a workhorse and McKinnon leaves. I'm fine with. There's so many. I like. I saw him in person too. Tajay Spears from Tulane. He didn't have a great game against K-State, but I've watched stuff. He had a great Senior Bowl. Deuce Vaughn, this is just a small thing. He made this catch against TCU. It was like 17 yards where he just has a great feel. I think it's some type of deep slant. It was like 17 yards. And the way he caught the ball, he jumped up, caught the ball, contorted his body. I was just like, dude, I already knew it, but I was like, man, he has a great feel. So if you told me the Chiefs day 3 draft Deuce Vaughn, I will be ecstatic. I'd love to say that I've interviewed a Chiefs player multiple times. I've had time, and he's a great person. You could just tell, and he's always focused. He's about the team. He's about winning. So told me we drafted Deuce Vaughn, I'd be ecstatic. I'd love it.
Yeah, I also think it'd be a pretty cool move just because, you covered him at K-State. And I think people may think, oh, he's the same, type of running back build as Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But I think Deuce Vaughn's much more elusive, and I think he is actually a better pass catcher than Clyde Edwards is.
Oh, yes. You can see his IQ on the field. He doesn't have the best football body as a running back, and he's not a big speedster. If you get him one-on-one on the field, he will juke anyone, but he's not going to break tackles. So you sort of have to understand that. But just his feel for the game, I feel like, is second to none. Even though I saw Bijan Robinson, he doesn't count. I got to see a lot of good running backs.
He'll probably be a first-round pick.
I got to see Bijan. I got to see Gibbs. I got to see a lot of good running backs this year. But it's like Bijan doesn't count. Gibbs is also – we're not going to get Gibbs. Gibbs is insane too. But a lot of great running backs. The depth is insane. You could draft someone in the 6th round who people are going to love, and there's free agents. So someone to run alongside Pacheco, I think that's a solid move to make, whoever it is.
Yeah, before we move on to the Eagles, I just wanted to highlight – the running back position is becoming kind of devalued. So we could see teams just, skipping on running backs for the first couple rounds. And then round 3, you can actually find like a huge stud in the 3rd
I don't want to get in a whole tangent, but I disagree on that. I mean, look at Saquon with the Giants.
Well, I'm not saying, I think Bijan and Gibbs, those are 2 running backs that go, those 2 running backs will go first 2 rounds. But I think after that, teams may just wait till 3rd round.
I don't know. I think running backs still have more value than people think. There's just more of them. That doesn't mean that they're not valuable. If we have, Darrell Williams is our starter this year. I know he's gone, but let's say he was a starter, or is Clyde. We lose the game. Pacheco is just a good kid.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I'm not saying that, you don't, if they're like Bijan, I'm not saying that you wait till round 3. I'm not saying Gibbs, you wait till round 3. Those are guys.
If you're a good team, and you can have Bijan in the 1st round, and you don't have really any holes. And Bijan,
I totally agree because we may talk about that in the next, next discussion.
About the Eagles.
I absolutely agree. I'm just saying, when you look, other than those 2 names, is there a guy that you would draft 2nd round, or that you would not be surprised that went to 2nd round of these running backs?
I think there's a lot.
Charbonnet.
There's Tank Bigsby. There's Sean Tucker. There's Devon.
What's the Texas A&M?
Devon. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a speedster. I know I'm forgetting one more. I know I'm forgetting him, and I'm gonna remember it later. But I think I really like these running backs.
Running back. There's a lot of depth in this running back class. I didn't want to say that there's no. I'm just saying teams could look to address other positions, and then you could still find a stud in the 3rd round because of that.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
So after that side conversation, we will now move to the Eagles. The Eagles, I think we all know the move they're going to make this offseason. They're going to extend Jalen Hurts probably $50 million a year.
They better.
I'm just curious if it'll be a 4-year deal or if it'll be like a 5-year deal, and if it'll be fully guaranteed or because Lamar Jackson's looking for basically a fully guaranteed contract. I wonder if Jalen Hurts will command the same type of contract.
Obviously, I think Jalen Hurts could command it all he wants, but I think there's something about Burrow making it team friendly. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the move. Obviously, I love Jalen Hurts' personality. He's to the grindstone. He's very hardworking, very humble. Obviously, I don't know what your money is your money. So whatever you want to
Mm-hmm.
do, it's your money. So I assume he'll sign a deal, make it team friendly. It won't really affect. I think it could if they do the signing bonus, but they have some free agents. You
Mm-hmm.
got Fletcher Cox, who's older though, Robert Quinn, who's older. Their whole D line. But the D line was they didn't do much. James Bradbury, obviously, he had the penalty, but I still think they'll be okay to move around. Obviously, they could probably move around some cap manipulation. Most teams are able to move stuff around. Paying Darius Slay a lot, I know, but you're not getting rid of Darius Slay. So I think, like most teams, they'll figure out the cap. What I don't know how much you've thought about it, but having 2 first-round picks, they have a lot of options: 10th pick
Mm-hmm.
and 30th pick. So I think that's going to be huge to what they do with those 2 picks.
Do you think, and I don't think they'll do it, but do you think there's any possibility that they package those 2 picks and try to move up even higher into the draft?
I don't think that's worth it. I don't think they
Yeah.
should. I'm not giving up both first. Maybe if you want to package 10 and like a second and a third to move up to 6, but I'm not touching that other first, at least not in a package deal. I
Yeah.
think it's best to continue adding depth with that and maybe trading back out of the first. Use the 10th, maybe trade back the 10th pick to like 17, then trading 31st pick to like 40, and just adding more picks, getting some free agents. They can mess around. I don't know how many picks they have total, but they can
I
mess
think
around with that.
they probably have close to 10. I'm not quite too sure though, but I think when you look at this team, when you look at the Chiefs and Eagles, just age wise, their roster construction, they're kind of going like while the Chiefs have this very young talent and they have a lot of young players that they're still developing, the Eagles, they're kind of getting up there in age in certain players. You have Jason Kelsey, who may or may not retire. After watching his post game press conference, I don't expect him to retire.
Oh,
You have Lane Johnson, who's getting up there in age. He's dealt with injuries as well. Fletcher Cox is a free agent. You have Brandon Graham, who's also getting up there in age. I expect the Eagles to address the defensive line with their 10th pick. So if there's somebody that's there that's a stud and kind of build around Jordan Davis on the defensive line, I think that's where the Eagles go. I know there's conversation about them grabbing Bijan Robinson 10th overall. I think you can get Bijan 29. Maybe there could be a team that goes middle first and grabs Bijan, but I think you could get Bijan at 29 while addressing defensive line at 10.
Earlier in the offseason or earlier in the season, I was thinking about they should just take Bijan 10, but they have some potential holes. But I just looked at it. They have the 10th pick, 30th pick, and then they have their second and third round pick. But then on day 3, it doesn't look like they have a pick till 221, and then they have 250. So they don't have many back end picks. So the trading back thing, I think, is definitely a solution.
Yeah, and even their secondary, like Bradbury's a free agent, Gardner Johnson is a free agent. I think what's interesting to me is that the Eagles, I think they're clearly the best team right now in the NFC East. But is there a world where we see, a team like the Giants or Cowboys win that division next year? Because I don't think that. When was the last time an NFC East team has repeated as division champs?
It's like never. It's been so long. I think they can. I think this is the best NFC East team in a while. But I do believe that they should be okay if they handle this draft well. They're a very well ran franchise. So I think they should be all right. I'm very interested in what they're going to do because they could go running back at some point if they don't want to pay Miles Sanders. But there's a chance Miles Sanders doesn't have too much open value market because there's so many running backs. Why would a team go out and pay Miles Sanders like near 10 mil? So that's going to be interesting. They have Gainwell, who they looks like they like, and Boston Scott.
And they use Gainwell. They gave Gainwell a lot of snaps.
And he looked pretty solid.
Which was kind of, I think, maybe a precursor that Miles Sanders is probably out the door. I don't expect them to re-sign Miles Sanders. I don't think he's commanding a contract unless he would take a pay cut. But as a running back, I don't really encourage any running back to take a team friendly deal. You got to get a deal that's good for yourself
But
because that position doesn't last long.
See, I just don't think he's going to get a lot on the market though. There's so many.
I mean, does he command $10 million?
No. There's no way.
Okay.
I like running backs, but I can go
you can go
many
draft
routes.
one. This draft has so many running backs too. So
I'm not.
Yeah,
they could go draft one with one of their later picks and have them work with Gainwell and Scott. I mean, I think
Scott's also a free agent.
Oh, that's easy though. No one's signing. If they want Scott back, Scott's back, in my opinion.
But yeah,
and you have Jalen Hurts, so you don't need some fantastic running back.
And I don't think Gainwell he's clearly not a workhorse guy. So you're definitely gonna have to draft one. Whether that means Bijan or you wait a little bit, I don't know. But I think the running back position is something that's probably on their radar as well.
Yeah, I bet they're looking at it, but it's not huge. I mean, I just think continue to build depth. They'll probably re-sign a couple of their guys. A couple will probably go out. I mean, how great? I don't think Robert Quinn had a fantastic year. Fletcher Cox. I mean, I don't know what team. He's old, so I don't know what team is.
I mean, he may just retire, to be quite honest. Their offensive line and defensive line they're getting up there in age. Like there are a lot of cornerstone pieces on both of those lines that are getting up there in age, and that's why I think it's very important that they get this draft right because I think we've seen NFL team rosters flip and then you don't know what happens.
But I think they've done a good job to they have the old, but they've been bringing in the new because you have Jordan Davis, who's just huge. I didn't see healthier. I just didn't even notice him during the Super Bowl. Or did
I did not see him, but I don't think he played because their run defense was getting bludgeoned by the Chiefs run game. So, and I know when he was in, they stopped the run during the season.
Yeah, but they have him, and then on the offensive line, they have Landon Dickerson, who is playing guard, but he's center, Alabama. So if Kelsey ever retires here, I bet he'll just move to center. I think they've done it. If I looked at it now, I think there's been a little negative about the Eagles for next year being talked about a little bit here or there. I am more positive on them because I think they can go. I mean, James Bradbury's good, but he's nothing insane. You can go replace James Bradbury probably. You can probably go replace a few of these guys. And I think that Jalen Hurts, I mean, it's always talked about Mahomes, Allen, Burrow. And the next group is like Herbert sort of mostly at top. And then but it's like Lamar, Trevor. But Hurts is rise well in there. I mean, he played fantastic. He's such a dynamic athlete, so he brings a whole different style. He has two great receivers. The talk about them drafting receiver in first round.
No,
that was the dumbest thing. I did not. I thought that
they already have AJ Brown locked up. They'll definitely lock up Devontae Smith here in the near future.
They can go get a third. And
I mean, but things you can wait to get a third. You don't have to.
They can go get a third later. But yeah.
And I think Eagles, when you look at the NFC, I mean, they still clearly have one of the best teams. And Jalen Hurts is Jalen. Yeah. And Jalen Hurts, I think, is he the best quarterback in the NFC at this point? I mean, I think you could talk about Rodgers. I think Rodgers out the door, and I think I'd rather have Hurts than Rodgers.
Oh yeah, I think at this point, I mean, if you tell me each quarterback has their best game, Jalen Hurts just had his. Rodgers is probably just like up there still, like his best.
I don't know though because Jalen Hurts adds the stuff on the ground.
Though. I know, but Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. So who would I rather have? Hurts for one season. Hurts, no doubt about it. But it's like, so yes, I think Hurts is better. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers, so he can bring it out, just dominate. But I'd rather have Hurts. Is Aaron Rodgers the only one in the discussion? Brady retired. I mean, who else?
I want to say Dak. I want to say Stafford. There's Stafford, Dak. I mean,
Stafford's good, but he's not. I think he's not in the discussion.
I mean, what?
Kyler's not. Danny Dimes, my boy, he's not. Yeah, Hurts is best quarterback in the NFC unless something. Even if Rodgers stays in the NFC or stays with the Packers, I still think Hurts is better. So I think Hurts has that on lock as the best receiver.
Now, it will be interesting though. Eagles did just lose their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator.
That is underrated. I'm happy you brought that up.
Head coaching jobs. I mean, there's a lot of turnover on this roster and the coaching staff. That's the only reason I have doubts of this roster. I think if Washington sticks to Sam Howell, they're not winning the division. Giants are because I don't believe in Dak Prescott at all. maybe if you go get him another weapon, a high-end
Maybe.
weapon in the draft, maybe that offense is way better. But Tony
Maybe.
Pollard's been coming off injury. Zeke's clearly over the wall. He's not the same running back he was. Offensive line probably is good. I mean, the thing is that defense is not going to be what it is forever. And so I don't know if Dak Prescott's going to be able to take advantage of that. They lost Kellen Moore, OC, which means Mike McCarthy will be calling plays. I'll give the edge to Eagles, of course, because they've been there, they've done that, they've been to the Super Bowl. But I do think the Giants are quietly a team that could win that division.
I think when you think about it, maybe the defense falls off. But it's sort of talked about. I mean, San Francisco was talking a whole bunch of garbage. Not garbage, but they're talking trash about the defense. And you looked and they couldn't stop. Maybe the defense was overrated the entire time.
Exactly. I think that defense may have been overrated.
But so maybe they don't have a huge drop. The offense, I know that how do you pronounce his last name? Their offensive coordinator went to the Colts.
Oh, Steichen?
Yeah. I know that he's gone, but I think this is more Sirianni.
I don't know though, because Steichen was with the Chargers when Herbert led the league in passing.
Yeah, but Sirianni came in
and then he left the Chargers and Herbert had a down year.
Yeah, but Sirianni came in last year, and I think this is Sirianni. I know Sirianni. I don't really mind it that he's a little more trash talky. He'll probably calm it down as he gets older. I think they're still going to be the best offense in the NFC.
I'm just trying to bring up the other side of the conversation.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I don't think there's. I love Brian Dable, Daniel Jones, and Saquon. I mean, you probably know that more than anyone how much I love the Giants. The Eagles are still getting the best offense. They again, top 10 at least, top 5 tight end. I mean, Kelsey, Kittle.
What's Goddard's contract look like? Did they just get an extension, didn't they? Was it actually like a pretty good contract for
I don't think it was too expensive.
I think it was actually a pretty cheap deal.
I mean, it's a small cap hit next year. It does go up quite a bit. It's an interesting contract because it's at 6.6 next year, but then 19.5, but then 5.8. So that's a little weird. And then it looks like I bet they could just move that around, but that's generally pretty good.
I mean,
so you have that. You still have a good running game. The offensive line is still going to be great. Kelsey's not retiring. Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I think Dillard's a free agent, but they do a great job.
Just listen to that press conference. He's staying.
Yeah. So I still think the offense, unless the only offense I think that can rival them in the NFC is the Niners. So I think they'll still have the best offense. They'll have at least a fine defense. So they're still my favorite team in the NFC, even though if you told me that Brock Purdy, I knew he'd be healthy for next year and that I knew they were going Brock Purdy, I'd probably lean Niners because then he has more experience. And I just really, Kyle Shanahan, I mean, he's going to get back to the Super Bowl. So Eagles, Niners are still my favorites. Yeah, so I'm not too worried about the Eagles. I think they are a very good organization. They won a Super Bowl 5 years ago. They'll probably just continue to improve, and I think they'll be fine, especially they can add young talent. They may have some holes, but I think they'll figure it out just fine. I think that the top teams in the NFL still Chiefs, Bengals, Bills, Niners, Eagles. And I think they rest firmly there atop the NFL and definitely atop the NFC East.
Yeah, it'll certainly be an interesting offseason, not just from a Chiefs and Eagles perspective, but league-wide perspective.
Team I'm really excited about is the Panthers. I mean, I saw that Derek Carr just got cut, and they may actually go get him. Have you seen the Panthers coaching staff, like in the whole list?
Frank Reich. They got
Caldwell and
Josh McCown.
Yeah.
Josh McCown. They got.
Caldwell
I think they get Stroud.
And Capers.
I think they get Stroud.
Caldwell and Capers are advisors. They have Deuce Staley. They have man, I need to do better with names. Broncos defensive coordinators now their defensive coordinator. Who's the Panthers offensive coordinator? Have they hired one? That's what
was Josh McCown offensive coordinator or is he the quarterback coach?
Quarterback coach.
Okay, maybe. But I'm not sure.
If you look at the list, it's stacked. I mean, even their senior advisors. You have former head coaches. Got Capers, who's a vet. If they get Derek Carr, add a little more protection, add another weapon, they're my pick out of the NFC South.
See, I think they want to get their own guy and develop him. I think because Frank Reich's been dealing with the quarterback carousel and Colts for the last few years. I think he wants his own guy, and I mean, there's even a video of Josh McCown. I think it was maybe last year. He was talking up
I
C.J.
don't.
Stroud.
I know, but I don't take. It's not like the quarterback coach going to decide your quarterback.
Well,
In the
of
end,
course, but
I don't know who to predict for the quarterbacks because Texans are taking one of them definitely, and it's just who's getting that first pick. Or if it's the Texans, who's getting the second pick,
yeah.
and then Will Levis. I haven't done too much research. It seems like he will probably go top 10 because teams do seem to like him. It looks like.
Mhm.
I don't know. I can't really judge his overall talent and himself as a prospect. But and then there's Anthony Richardson, who has like this high ceiling, very low floor. So I think there's a lot of quarterback options out there, and it'll just be, they could go really well this year with Carr, or they can go all in for one of the top two, or they can maybe keep Sam and then draft one of the other two. I think they're in an interesting spot in their team. There's no way. I mean, they'd have to have great quarterback play, but they're a sneaky one in the NFC. And then who knows with the Packers? You trade Rodgers, get some picks. Maybe Love turns out really well. So I think that everything behind San Francisco and Philly, I think that's very interesting, and I think that could ebb and flow depending on this offseason.
Yeah, I think the 3 seeds up for grabs in the NFC. I think the NFC South, whoever wins the NFC South will probably be the 4th seed.
Yeah,
but I think the 3 seeds up for grabs.
NFC North, and then there's the Lions. I mean, I remember I liked them a ton before the year, and they're probably just get better. NFC seems exciting. I've sort of came to the point on the AFC.
I'm hoping the NFC becomes exciting.
Yeah, please.
We need some quarterbacks to go to the NFC. I'm tired of. I mean, Mahomes just went through a gauntlet this year, and I mean,
I'll have to do it again. And I mean, we'll see what happens. Lamar's the only one who could possibly leave, but I think he's.
I think Lamar ends up going to Atlanta.
That's a good fit, but I do think they give Ritter a year. I think they give him a year, and you give him a year, and if he's good, then you have a solid quarterback. If he sucks, you just tank and try to get Caleb or Drake. So I don't know. I'm excited for the NFC. The AFC, I've sort of just determined. I don't want to sound like a cocky fan, but it's like the Chiefs will win the division. Aaron Rodgers comes to Raiders. I don't care. We'll be okay. We get it done. Chiefs get it done. And then, but of course, it's about the playoffs. But the NFC is more intriguing to me this offseason. I'm very intrigued with the NFC offseason. I mean, there's just so many steps. And like maybe the Vikings, they have a worse record, but they get better as a team. The Bears have cap and a ton of picks, even though they shouldn't have traded that pick for Claypool in hindsight. But I'm excited about the NFC. I don't know. Do you have someone out of the NFC that I haven't mentioned that you find really intriguing?
I mean, you kind of took mine with Chicago, and I know that I'm a big Justin Fields guy. I think they haven't really set him up to succeed yet, but he's shown flashes. I still think if Chicago can handle their cap space right and the drafts right, I think that could be a sneaky team. Not to win their division, but probably make the wild card if they're able to take that huge step forward. Because the NFC, I think, is just wide open. So if they're able to get the right pieces in there and Justin Fields takes that third-year leap, I think this team's definitely in contention for a wild card. And if Jordan Love's bad, if Jordan Love's not good, and then, Vikings are not going 11-0 in one-possession games.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the Bears win that division, but I mean, maybe something happens if they go crazy.
I don't know. I think if you look at it, the Lions, honestly, I think the team that's like most people in the NFC North are most like, okay, I trust the Lions. And then the Packers, you could keep Rodgers, and I think Packers would be. They had a weird year and just stuff did not go right.
I don't think they keep Rodgers.
Well, I don't think so.
I think they're already.
I didn't say that. I didn't say they keep him. I thought
you said if they keep him.
I said yeah, because I think it's possible. I mean, we never know. Stuff's weird. I mean, if 2 years ago we said Aaron Rodgers would still be on the Packers, we like no, he's not. He wants to be out. So I don't think we know. I don't think we fully know. I think he's gone, but I don't think we know. And then
I think there'd be more Jordan Love trade talk buzz going around if there was more of a potential of Rodgers.
Not everything gets brought up though. Sometimes stuff just happens out of the blue. Stuff just happens out of nowhere. When Chiefs drafted Mahomes, we didn't even know we're trading up. Then it's like 30 minutes before. It's like, oh, look for the Chiefs, trade up. But that's like, stuff happens out of nowhere. But Packers, either quarterback, I still feel more confident. And the Vikings, even though I knew they were fraudulent, trust me, I was all in on Giants winning that game. I knew it. Danny Dimes, Man, watch out for Danny Dimes. Watch out for Danny Dimes.
We'll
But
see what they do. They have to go receiver in the draft, right? First round. Like that has to be the pick, right?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Unless you do like trade for Hopkins or something, but yeah, it's like
I think I'd still take one in the first round if you trade for Hopkins.
No,
Hopkins is 31,
take a lineman because Hodgins is someone's like Hodgins.
So you're telling me if you wouldn't let's say you get Hopkins in the trade for your Giants, and then Jackson Smith-Njigba is sitting there.
Okay, well that's different. That's different.
Okay, but that is definitely plausible.
But we don't. Of course.
Okay, of course we don't know. Of course we don't know. But he's probably the third receiver off the board because we haven't seen him play. Jordan Addison will probably be receiver 2. Quinn Johnson will I'm guessing he will be receiver 1, even though I know you have questions about him. I still think he's the first receiver off the board. But if JSN's sitting there and you have Hopkins and JSN as a number 2 for a year, and then he steps into the number 1 role, I think it's absolute no-brainer for the Giants.
You still need some O-line help. You can't have
Andrew of course,
Thomas
yeah.
And
but
I mean, you're hoping Evan Neal turns into something at right tackle. You need Evan Neal to turn into something at right tackle.
But I truly think they go receiver. I think they go receiver regardless in first round, unless they they go on a wide receiver mayhem in free agency and trades, which I don't think is going to happen. They're going to take a receiver first round.
It's most likely. It's most likely. I think. Just going back to the point, I love me a Giants tangent. Danny Dimes, I will always say. But and then the Vikings, even though, as I was saying, they're fraudulent, I still prefer them over the Bears. Vikings honestly could be better and lose like 3 more games than they did.
I don't know about the Vikings, man.
But they this is
okay. What do you do? What do you? I'm feeling.
You figure it out. He's not that crucial.
Dalvin Cook not getting younger, and he's always getting injured.
Okay, but
that defense horrendous.
Okay, but you can make some changes, and it'll be the second.
And then I mean, Kirk Cousins is Daniel Jones' cousin. I mean, they're the same type of.
That's a good NFL quarterback. I don't care. Kirk Cousins was playing well in that game. The reason
the reason they lost is he checked down 4th and 8.
Oh my! He had nowhere to go. What is he supposed to do? Chuck it up 30 yards?
Why not? He did Justin Jefferson against Buffalo.
People make plays. You can throw it short. I don't want to. I thought that criticism was stupid. Kirk Cousins is still a good quarterback. We talk about all this like teams can't find quarterbacks. If you told me obviously the Niners, but if there's a lot of teams out there, you told me they had Kirk Cousins, I'd be like, okay, I know he's not performed big time moments, but take Kirk Cousins over a lot of people.
Yeah, but I think the Kirk Cousins Vikings thing has run its course. That's my point. I'm not saying that.
Well, yes, but
I'm not saying there'd be no teams that wouldn't take Kirk Cousins. My point is I think it's already run its course, and you already know what the end product's going to be.
But they could still be better. They could still be better. This will be Kevin O'Connell's 2nd year. I think they could still be better.
But
Okay,
they could be a better team, but you're not going to go 11-0 in 1 possession games.
Okay, but again, that doesn't
cut those in half. And what's their record?
Again, that doesn't matter to me. I think they could be better and be 10-7 and be a better team, or 11-6. I think it's sort of like the Packers their first year with LaFleur, where there's like they're 13-3, but then it's like okay, they even though they didn't make the Super Bowl the next year, I mean they were right there and they were a much better team still. But that first year, they just won a lot of close games, but they improved, and I think the Vikings will improve.
If we had to make like a prediction, and I know it's way before next year, we still have free agency and the draft and trades to be made. But right now, I would say Green Bay wins that division, especially if they and I'm not saying Love's better than Rodgers when I say this, but especially if they trade Rodgers.
I agree. I agree with what you're saying.
And that roster's already pretty loaded around Love. I mean, the defense took a huge step, and I think they figure out something there.
There's a couple games. I don't know.
I think around Jordan Love, I think they probably win that division next year.
I'd have to. That division's probably the toughest pick, right? Pre-offseason, maybe post-offseason, we know more. But pre-offseason, I think that's a 3-headed race right now. Lions improving, Vikings worst record still improving. Packers, they're going to be better next year, no matter who the quarterback is. So I don't know. I wouldn't touch picking that division until I see the free agency and the draft.
I feel like
if you had to make me pick, I'd say Lions. Dan Campbell. I'd say Lions if I had to. But that's like It's very close.
I know I was high on Chicago. I don't think they win the division, but I think they do take a big step forward, maybe win 7-8 games. I really do if they make the right moves, and then we still have to see if they make the right moves. But I think if they could load up on that roster, because who was Fields throwing to? We're calling Claypool bad, and which I don't think he's
Claypool's
great.
not bad. It's just they shouldn't have traded the 32nd pick of the draft for Claypool.
He's clearly not a guy who's going to help elevate the quarterback. We didn't see it last year. Darnell Mooney, I love Darnell Mooney. He's not a guy who elevates a quarterback.
Yeah, but we still don't even know if Justin Fields is good. I have more faith that Justin. Who do you think's the better quarterback next year, Jordan Love or Justin Fields? If you had to pick to win games,
if you had asked me right now, I say Jordan Love because I think the pieces he's had
by themselves, not pieces by themselves. Who would you rather take? I'd rather take the guy who sat behind Aaron Rodgers, who has seemed to be helpful to him. It seems like it's not a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation. It seems like Aaron Rodgers helped, who's came in and shown some potential. I'd take Jordan Love. Justin Fields is too raw.
I'd probably take Jordan Love too, but that's what I was going to say. He has more experience just from learning. Fields just played 2 years.
Yeah, but so I don't know what I think 7 to 8 wins is high, even with an off season.
Then you still I'm saying to 7 to 8 wins if they do well in free agency in the draft. If they don't do anything,
that's a max though. Right? They're not going beyond.
No. Yeah. I'm not saying that they're going to win. I'm not saying they're going to be like a 10-win team. I'm not saying that at all. Okay, I'm just saying if they do well in the draft and they get the right pieces around Fields, and Fields takes that, he still has to take that third-year leap. If he does all those things, I think they take that step to 7 or 8 wins. Mm-hmm. But we still have to see what happens, and we'll have to see. It very well may be that they just suck again, and then we'll see if they get one pick next year again. You just take Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I'm not too confident in the Bears. I like the other 3 teams, so it's gonna be tough to get those wins when you have to face 3 good teams twice. I don't know. I'm just overall NFC as the overall taking it back to the whole thing. The whole NFC intrigues me. AFC, you sort of know what you got, but the NFC, I think that's going to be fun to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I believe that's probably close our episode today. Mm-hmm. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe. There will be more off-season content closer to free agency, closer to the draft. We'll probably be doing some draft predictions of where we think certain players are going. Mm-hmm. And just make sure to leave a like on the video.
Mm-hmm. I liked our NFC talk at the end. I thought that was pretty good.
Yep.